Hi, it's Anne. You can call me Alchemy Anne. This is my first episode, so I thought today, if we're going to make it the first one, we better make it a really big one. So I was only accidentally became a medium not so long ago, and I have had the biggest questions ever to find out, like, what's our reality? Is there a God? Who's this version of Christ that turns up? These angels that are here, who are they? You know, and how does the whole universe and cosmos actually work? So I just want to say up front, if you're super religious and you're really closed-minded about anything other than what you think is real, then I suggest you walk on and keep going right now. So just know there's different opinions and different experiences. So I want to say that what I've had happen is not by any stretch of means any belief system. And I don't follow any particular system or anybody's beliefs at all, because I rejected them all. I was brought up really super religious when I was little. And in fact, I was told that if I even said, "Oh my God," or "Jesus" in vain, that I was going to go to hell. So I imagine what it was like finding out that I'm this medium and I can talk to angels and, you know, spirits and whatever, and, you know, how sacrilegious that is. So the funny thing is I rejected all of that, like really rejected it. And also because I had a personal experience with a lot of Christian people who were actually really unloving. They were not kind people. I looked at all the wars in the world. I looked at a lot of abuse in the world, and I thought a lot of that has been done in the name of a religion. And I thought, you're all idiots. So I was so out of it. And I thought, you know what? The only thing I can rely on is myself and this lifetime and these commercial aspects. I was like full on in advertising and super I'm responsible for myself, like really driven. I believed I had to keep getting better at things, and I educated myself really deeply. And I was quite successful in the advertising industry, which is pretty capitalist. But the funny thing is, over all these years, I've realised that both of those things were actually faulty. And so everything did kind of crash and burn, which is definitely a common thing for people who are going through a genuine spiritual awakening. That's not a belief system. It's almost physiological. Like your whole system is like rewired and changing. You're a completely different person. And so there's a lot of change and a lot of things you have to let go of to fit into this new world. And one of those is, there's a lot of religious people around me who are going to really hate this. So I suggest, if that's you, just move along and I'll send my love and light to you and wish you the best. But I think just leave us crazy people here to talk about whatever we want to talk about. So this idea of God, like I had Christ turn up. So I was in a meditation with a kinesiologist, and I got the biggest fright of my life because his face was big and popped right before me as a full-on vision. So it's really obvious when you do a bit of this work, what's imagination, what's a thought, and what is a full-on spiritual experience and communication. It comes into you. So it's like watching TV on the inside of your eyelids, if you want a better description for it. Anyway, so this face of who I knew to be Christ turned up. But the funny thing was, he didn't really look like the typical version of Christ that we see in, all our media and, churches and whatnot. That is like a commercial interpretation, probably like a branding exercise somewhere in the past, which is hilarious. Like Santa Claus was, Coca-Cola created. So that version of him is not real at all. In fact, I would say he's probably a little more prehistoric, if I want to choose a word. A bit, caveman-y. He's got quite a wide face. His skin's very dark. He has dark curly hair. When I saw it, it was like, collar length, kind of, here somewhere. And I got to say, I felt really judgmental because I got such a fright because he just looked so different. And that look is quite challenging to see for the first time. So I went, oh, like this, and I woke up and I got out of it and I was like, my heart going. It was like really scared of him. And afterwards I was like, oh my God, like he just turned up so big in front of my face. It was like really scary. And anyway, so after that, I thought I would find out like more about it. Anyway, I asked if I could see him again. And this time he came to me, he's actually funny. So he came to me as one of those fake wooden statues, a bit like, you get in churches now in wooden shape and everything. And he had tiny little hands and he was going like that. It was just taking the piss out of the whole thing. It was actually hilarious. And anyway, so we laughed between us and I did apologise. So I've realised now that he doesn't have the judgment that, my family threatened me with, that even I think saying, oh my God, with no, insult to anyone was going to send me to hell, but actually being offended and like frightened by the face of, actual Christ consciousness, I thought that was really going to send me to hell. But no, I am so far safe of that. So there's probably lots of topics that are going to come up out of this because Christ consciousness is, from what I experience, it's the spiritual, eternal version of the person who was incarnated here in, Earth times, 2024 years ago, as Jesus. And he's been on Earth in other incarnations as well, so he comes as different people. So at the moment, Christ consciousness is communicating with a lot of people to make a lot of change. So that's kind of how he's coming to Earth these days. Anyway, so I spoke to my mate, Christ, and I'm going, so what's at the top of everything? Like, show me the top of the universe as absolutely as far as you can possibly go at the absolute top, and I want to see what's there. So in meditation we went up, and I got all the way up to this light, and that light, I have to tell you, is the most loving experience I have ever experienced in my life. It is like so more profound than even the love you have for your own children or your closest partner or lover or whatever, husband. I was going to say something rude, I'll refrain. So all of those human emotion-based feelings of love are nothing like the love that comes from the very top of everything. So when I got there, I would say it's kind of like honey, warm honey, and it fills up like you're actually being filled up. So my feet first, and then it went up and up and up, and it came all the way through my whole body. And it was the most loving, intense feeling I've ever felt in my life. There's not really words to describe it properly, because at the same time as this loving visceral substance, it's actually like all of the knowledge of everything that ever existed and consciousness of everything and everyone. It's also a feeling, and there's like knowledge, it's a unity feeling as well. So and I've got to say, I felt like that was my home. I felt that's where I came from, and I really did not want to go. And it was funny because being up there, it was like intoxicating. So there's lots of learnings I've had about that light and what it actually is and all of that too. Anyway, so then I was like, so out of the light, I'm going, who lives here, And so out of the light came a being that was stepping forward in front of other beings. And the one at the front, you could tell was talking for all of them. So the communication that I have, you would call it thought osmosis. And basically it's the same as if I said to you the word Christmas, you would instantly know everything about Christmas for you, what it meant, what it looked like, the colours, the sounds, the food, the smell, everything. But thought osmosis for me when I'm communicating with the spirit is that download of information is instant and I know everything that I need to know. It can be like a symbol or a word or a picture, or sometimes there's actual talk. But the meaning of things, even if I don't know what they are, that all comes through. Sometimes I'm even shown and told words in other languages that I have no experience of, no exposure to. So it's not, and I've been through the whole, is this my imagination thing? No, it's not your imagination. Anyway, so out of the light came this being. And at first I was a bit scared because it looked a bit like an alien. So it had like a jumpsuit thing, and it had a whitish grey face, and it was balding, and it had big eyes, black, big eyes, and I was actually a bit afraid, and I could tell that it could, we could communicate. And so they said to me, don't be afraid, we don't really look like this. We just wanted to do that so you understood who we were, but we really look like this. And with that, it sort of peeled off this layer of body, and there was nothing there but light. So I understood from that up at the very top of light was just this consciousness, and there were 8 of them, I reckon. I felt like I was one of them, to be honest with you, but I think that's another big story about, that unity feeling, and we all come from one. So I would say, if I had to put money on it, that there were 8 up there. So that whole concept of a man in a chair sitting there, dictating over our world and judging us, ooh, threaten, you do that, you're going to hell. That is such bullshit, like I can't even tell you now. And anyway, so at the very top of everything is just nothing but love, light, in the highest intelligence of all. And the really cool thing was, through that light, I could see there was like this room where they lived. And the room was lined with big ancient blocks of stone, kind of reddish colour, and there were symbols and things sort of carved in it and everything. And the weird thing was, it was like a big round room, and you could see the sky, or what was above, through like a hole in it. So like as if you were inside a big well. And I was talking to Christ, who in this occasion was down to my left, one layer down. So if you're into the Bible, you might say that he sits at the right hand of God, gods, plural, and I would say, yeah, that sounds true to me. The whole single God thing, if you really look hard into emerald tablets and all sorts of other historical discoveries about the way that the Bible is an interpretation, and Christ doesn't want me to go into too much of that, but I will tell you that it's a mistake that that there is only one God, that the original Bible mentioned multiple, and I would say from my experience 100% that's true. Okay, so in this room there was all these hieroglyphic-y things on top, and I'm talking to my mate Christ and saying, so, well, who are these people who live here? Or these beings? Like, they weren't people. It was kind of like consciousness and like a spirit giant and big as everything. Anyway, there was all these symbols and shapes, kind of like, if I had to put any sort of nationality to it, I would say they were Egyptian a little bit. Anyway, and I said to Christ, there's too many things here. Can you show me one symbol that I can take back and then help me with the research to try and find out, like, what language this is and what communication, means that these entities have up here. Anyway, so on the wall there was this symbol that kind of looked like a candelabra, a three-pronged candelabra. And if I had to say any religion, like thinking about Friday nights for the Jewish community, they have these candles that are sort of, shaped like that on the table. So I thought, yeah, it's kind of like that. Anyway, after that, thank you very much. I went down back to human land and came out of my meditation. And so I drew a picture of what I saw and I put it into Google Images to find more. And it was so mind-blowing because I actually saw that it was an angelic alphabet. There is such a thing. Can you believe it? So things like that happen all the time now. It's just so mind-blowing. And anyway, so angelic language it is. So that's an angelic realm up there at the top of everything. And I did forget to tell you, when I was up there and I said, so yeah, who are these people? I was shown in the same kind of raw stone blocks, in that same style. I was shown Easter Island statues. And my understanding of what they are is they were statues of gods. So it was very clear through thought osmosis that I was being shown that this level of being up there is a god and multiple gods. And so the Easter Island statues, they're definitely big, and I feel like there's more to learn about them. So what the hell do I do with all of this? So firstly, I would say I rejected everything to do with religion, as I became an adult through disappointment and whatever. And I would say my experience of actually experiencing spirit now, I would say there 100% is a God, but multiple. I would say 100% that Christ consciousness as an eternal consciousness exists, no question. And Jesus as a human definitely had a life here on earth as a human and was passing this message on. There's lots to talk about, like his life here, because I've had conversations about this thing too. But I would also say atheists got it all wrong, because life doesn't finish here. There is actually, I would say, what I'm learning is we are eternal spiritual beings, and we're having a lifetime here on earth for learning and spiritual growth. Some of us are having a holiday, but generally that's what we're here for. And there's a whole lot of things, that I've learned, spiritual learnings about, balancing the light and the dark, and, what Christ thinks our mission here and purpose is of being on earth. And I would also say those things like my family saying I was going to hell. I would say, no, there is no such thing as like a hell that is a punishment put on us by any man in a chair. We are not. And I've even told Christ in my own frustration along the way, I said he could shove things up his ass and fuck off. And I said the whole thing, and he still comes to me and has unconditional love and support for me. Every now and then he gets kind of tough, like I'll be feeling sad and sorry for myself, and he'll show me, his hands with nails driven through them and, nails in his feet, and go, well, this is what I had to put up with. You really want to complain about your life? And I go, ooh, yeah, ooh, okay. So not so bad. So there's things like that. So he can be a bit brutal sometimes. And, and the whole, what do angels, how do they fit into the whole thing? I could talk about angels just forever. They're actually really funny and really cool. So let's talk about them another time. But if you want my actual experience, yes, there is a God. And there's a whole other story to come about, what actually is God. And there's a whole quantum physics and mathematical side to it as well. But as far as the gods that sit at the top of that, well, that's who's running the show down here. So there's more questions I still have, what's at the other side of that well? and other multiverses or whatever that live above that, there is definitely other things out there. There's, the mathematical side of it. There's the scientific part of the God particle that is in everything. So God is in two parts. It's this overriding energy quantum field, well, the unified quantum field, actually, and it's the consciousness and the miracle creators of these gods that sit at the top of our particular universe. So in kind of a long story, that's how I came to find out what actually is God and what's really there. And that was like one of the first questions that I had a few years ago when this all started, this weird stuff. So there's so much more to tell you. I can't wait to tell you more. So if there's other big questions you've got, please message me, because you'll give me inspiration to go and ask. So if you're a scientist or maths even, please tell me. I've had messages for people who are finishing Einstein's work right now as well, and pass that on. And, you know, sort of I see mathematical things and symbols and, kind of wild things. So it's definitely been a super fun journey. Okay, so that's the God question. So please get in touch, subscribe, put on the notifications so you don't miss my next, big installment. And also you can hook me up at the website. So it's medium.annemiles.com.au, and it's Anne with an E and miles like kilometres. And if you do need a reading or, I do a really deep dive, a blueprint into, your whole soul origin and everything. Yes, sorry, we talk about aliens. And, how to repair some of the things that are not working in your body. So next time, what do I talk about? It could be my how I healed myself of cancer, maybe. Could be, the stories of angels. Oh, my goodness. Breaking down the rules of manifesting. Oh, don't get me started on that. Anyway, I can't wait to talk more, and please get in touch.